Hey besties, happy Sunday, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking through a little bit of a story time. Essentially on this channel, you know, we talk about luxurious secondhand purchases all the time. Sometimes those purchases do not go as well as one would hope. So that is what we're talking about. Essentially, I was on my favorite pre-loved website, Vestiaire Collective. I was scrolling as I usually do, which is like my favorite pastime. And essentially, I found a brilliant Cartier bag. I'm like, this Cartier bag is the most beautiful Cartier bag I've ever seen, not to exaggerate. Today, we talk through the story time. We also talk through my little Cartier collection because essentially, one time, the Cartier vintage purchase didn't go so well. Like all the other times I bought something vintage from Vestiaire Collective that is Cartier, it has worked out brilliantly, right? So this story time is not saying that when you buy something from Vestiaire Collective that's Cartier, it's not gonna go well. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this one time, it did not turn out to be as I expected when the item arrived, but all of these other times it has turned out totally fine. So like I said, was scrolling on Vestiaire Collective. I ordered this Cartier bag. I thought it was the most beautiful color. I'm like, I've never seen a vintage Cartier bag in this specific like darker color. The bag was essentially, now we're gonna bring this one in for eye candy. It was essentially similar to this. This is quite a tall bag, right? That bag was a little bit shorter. It was a very similar style, right? But this red leather, it was like darker than this. It was like almost like a maroonish type purple color, and I was like, oh my gosh, that color is just 100%, which probably should have given me red flags, right? Because essentially, if you've never seen that color from a brand that has their signature color, right, maybe it's not the actual color that the brand created, right? So that should have been my first red flag in this process. What did we learn from that? Ask for detailed pictures on the color specifically, because essentially when the bag arrived, I was super excited. I was basically just waiting. I was traveling, and then the minute I got home, I went to the little post office and I picked up this bag. I ripped open the packaging. I was essentially, it was a little bit dark. It was a little bit like, I was not in a well-lit room, right? So when I first opened it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. This is everything, right? But then a little bit later, I sat down and bright light, like daylight, you know, was shining on the bag, and I saw something that was not right. I basically saw that the bag was painted, not by Cartier, right, but it looked to be painted by basically a third party. If you know anything about kind of third-party painting on bags, usually, at least in my experience, it does not end up looking as good as you would hope. That's usually like the case for most things. If you buy something and you plan on recoloring it, maybe do not buy the thing in the first place, because when you recolor something, it will show in some capacity. And I'm not a fan of like buying something and trying to make it into something that it's not, blah, 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 right? That's not my vibe. Also, if you're a fan of the Hermes world, then you know if you buy something, you have it fixed at a third party, then you cannot hand it into a Hermes spa, right? This is Cartier, so that's not the same kind of rules, but still, for me, something that's painted by a third party is no bueno, and I'm not interested. So essentially, when I saw that, I'm like, OMG, this is so sad. So I looked at the bag, I'm like, are you really painted by a third party? And essentially, yes. I looked at the details. I'll pop up some photos of essentially showing where you could see pretty clearly actually that it was painted by a third party. This was not mentioned in the ad on Vestiaire Collective, right? So when you get your item from Vestiaire Collective, you have 72 hours to inspect the item, and if you see something that's wrong, you have those 72 hours, right, to report it. I basically sat with a bag in my lap and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to report this. I am so sad, but it has to be done. I reported it to Vestiaire Collective. I basically sent all the detailed photos. I wrote a little note basically saying, dear Vestiaire Collective team, This was unfortunately not as I expected. The bag looks to be painted by a third party. If I knew this, then I would not have purchased the bag, and my preferred procedure now would be for me to send the bag back to the seller and to be refunded the money. I sent that. It was like a Saturday, I think it was. Then I basically went on with my day. I went for a walk. I sat down for a coffee with my family. I then checked my email like 2 hours later after sending that reporting thingy to Vestiaire Collective. I mean, sending it through their app, right? But you get responses through your emails. So I checked my email. I had gotten a reply. They were like, "We are so sorry for the inconvenience. We'll refund you. Here you have a shipping label." Like literally no questions asked. They were like, "We agree. This bag has been painted. It was not mentioned by the seller. So the item you purchased was not per the description, so we'll basically give you the money back as soon as you've shipped the item." I'm like, oh my gosh, that was easy and that was quick, especially for a Saturday. Like, you send me an email on my business phone on like a Saturday, I'm not replying. But these people, they were replying on a Saturday, which I was super thankful for. I bought the bag for like 200 euros, so honestly, I would have rather had the bag be as I expected it to be versus get 200 euros back, but since it was not as I expected, then I would rather just send it back, not have to deal with whatever the kind of third party colored situation was, right? So I sent off the bag, basically packed it up in the same packaging because obviously I just opened it, I'd not worn it. I basically just packed it up, like I said, same packaging as I got from the seller. One thing to note as well, I did not ship it through Vestiaire Collective for authentication because basically the authentication at Vestiaire Collective is like 20 euros. I'm like, this bag is a 90s Cartier bag. I have a few of these now that I've authenticated. I can see if it's authentic or not. Right, especially when the bag is 200 euros and the authentication is 20. I was like, not sure it makes sense. So didn't have it shipped through them for authentication, which essentially means that the seller shipped it directly to me. Right, from there, shipped it back in the same packaging to the seller. Like literally a day later, I had the money back on my account. It was super easy, like literally no questions asked from Vestiaire Collective, and I thought that was really great service. So essentially, I must say that I was happy with the service that I got from Vestiaire Collective. First of all, they were super responsive. They replied so quickly that I was even like surprised that they replied so quickly, right? And I'm just like any other kind of customer on Vestiaire Collective, right? I have no affiliation or no nothing with them, obviously, because my YouTube channel is teeny tiny, right? But essentially, I think that experience, like the way they responded, how they took care of the situation in a way that was super easy for me as a customer, right? I think that even gave me more, I don't know, brand loyalty to Vestiaire Collective as a platform, right? Because they basically made that like whole reporting experience super easy and effective. So I am super happy with that. Essentially, like I said, all the other times I've bought vintage Cartier things from Vestiaire Collective, it's turned out super well. This is one of my most used bags currently. This is also a Cartier bag from the 90s. I am completely obsessed with this. The cherry red color that Cartier has is just fabulous. I adore it. This bag is a little shoulder bag moment, and essentially I got this on Vestiaire Collective too for like 200 euros. So the thing for me with vintage Cartier bags, right, if you ask me, right, my personal opinion, these bags are super undervalued. I'm sorry that I just made some noise with my notebook. This type of bag, like it's an all leather bag. It's essentially like such high quality leather, it feels like. It has, did you hear that? Fabulous magnetic closure. It has all of these like hardware details that are like top tier fabulous, you know? And it's just a bag that is of a top tier brand. I know top tier is chuggy, but what else can I say? It's like an elite level brand, right? That make bags currently that are so much more expensive. This is literally a vintage 90s bag. I adore vintage things. I think vintage things are better than new things. I will die at the top of this hill for this. Similarly, I have a bigger Cartier bag. This is essentially a crossbody bag that fits my laptop. It fits like everything I need to bring for a day in the office. It's like a slimmer bag, but it's huge, like in terms of the surface area, right? So whatever you need to bring, you bring it. It's fabulous. It has, once again, one of those snap closures, right? So you don't have to fiddle with whatever this is to open it. No, you just use the little snap closure, right? It does not have a back pocket, but for this big of a bag, I think a back pocket would just be like an endless space of I don't know, memories. This bag I'm also super happy with. My mom recently bought an exact copy of mine, so she has a matching one with me as well now. And she also has a little square, little Cartier, like it looks a little Celine coated if you ask me. It's a little square, like smooth leather Cartier bag, and I think that is just so fabulous. I'm obsessed with that. I'll pop up a picture. That's not part of my Cartier collection, but just me and my mom, we're one collective, right? I also have a Cartier belt. This was what started it all for me. I am obsessed with this Cartier belt. If you've seen any like outfit videos on my channel, then I think you have seen this belt. Like when you move, like the reflection of light, I'm watching this reflection in the little viewfinder. Essentially this brushed kind of steel and the shiny gold just gives such visual interest. The Cartier red color is just everything clearly, because who doesn't love a pop of cherry red, you know, or Cartier red we should call it. And it's just one of those that I'm wearing as like a little belt for like either dresses or high-waisted pants or jeans or whatever. Like this belt, just everything. It dresses up, like it elevates. Great word. Or it like pumps up the outfit one notch, like every time I wear this belt. So I'm just super obsessed with this. And like I said, this was the Cartier thing I bought first, and I'm so happy I did. I think I paid like, was it like 90 euros or something for this? It was ridiculously reasonably priced, right, for being a designer belt. I also have one Cartier scarf. I used to have another one, but basically my mom, like I said, we're one collective here, and she basically took that scarf. We swapped, so she bought this scarf for me when she took mine. This one is like a icy blue with like jewelry patterns with the fabulous little panthers. That's what they are, obviously, with the panthère of Cartier. I am so obsessed with this. I think this scarf is just everything and a half. I think it's a mood. I think it's a lifestyle. I think I need to wear this scarf more. I used to have that like bright green scarf that my mom stole, but essentially she has brown hair. I have obviously not brown hair. She has brown hair, brown eyes. That pop of color green works so well for her. We adore a nice vintage Cartier moment. Also, my last thing is my Cartier watch. I am a Cartier fangirl, clearly. This is a Cartier Santos Galley Bay watch in the 24mm size. I think this is just fabulous. I think Cartier watches, like if you like wearing a watch, if you want a watch that looks feminine, yet very timeless, classic and chic, and it's just going with every single outfit mood you ever want to wear, if you have similar style to me, that is, then buy a little Cartier watch. I adore this, clearly, needless to say. I adore that it has the little sapphire on the little crown of the watch that gives it a little blue sparkle once in a while, you know, when the sun hits the little stone. It also has the fabulous like navy blue pointers, right, which matches the navy blue sapphire. Oh my gosh, obsessed. I'm clearly obsessed with Cartier. I'm low-key looking at other Cartier watches too. I would love to have a two-toned Cartier watch, like a gold and silver Cartier watch. Obsessed. But now I have the Santos, so maybe like something like the Tank. I think a Tank two-toned Cartier watch is 100%. I'm obsessed, clearly. This was my little Cartier Vestiaire Collective story time and all of my Cartier Vestiaire Collective purchases. This is my vintage Cartier collection. Do you have any vintage Cartier things? Are you more interested in looking into them now? I think I am not liable for any purchases made after this video, but essentially I think Cartier super undervalued in terms of handbags and kind of, you know, belts and stuff like that, accessories, right? So Key tip from yours truly, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, do proceed with caution as well in terms of color so that no one has painted your bag, which was the case for me, right? But this is the first time I've ever seen that color, and if you look at Cartier bags for a little moment, then you will pretty quickly understand what the real color is. So do not be stupid like I was and buy something in a color that maybe does not exist. But that's besides the point. Thank you very much for coming with me on this very rambly journey. I do hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope that it gave you some indication on what can happen with secondhand purchases and how to handle it going forward, right, in terms of something that has gone wrong. Thank you so much, like I said once again, for watching and for chatting with me about Cartier things. I will see you back here next Sunday at 3 p.m. Swedish time, obviously. And if you have not had enough of me just yet, then I'll link another video right here in case you've not already seen it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. And until my next video, stay safe, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye!